We are officially 4 weeks away from Election Day, and tonight we dive into the races in Ohio, Georgia, and Wisconsin. All could change the balance of power in the U.S. Senate. As candidates clash with their opponents these days, party leaders are on the campaign trail. Joining us now is CBS News congressional correspondent Nikole Killion out there in Carrollton, Georgia. And we have CBS News political correspondent Caitlin Huey-Burns with us as well in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. But Nikole, let's begin with you. In the all-important state of Georgia, you're on the ground there covering a recent rally today for the Republican Senate nominee, Herschel Walker. What are you picking up in the Peach State?
Well, in terms of the folks at this rally, as you can imagine, most of them were in support of Herschel Walker. This is a pretty deeply red area, so for the most part, voters were pretty sympathetic and do believe him in terms of his dismissal and denials of these allegations with respect to some of these reports about him allegedly paying for a woman's abortion and perhaps encouraging her to get a second abortion. And again, CBS News has not independently verified those claims, but it was something that a lot of voters we spoke to weighed in. Also, as you know, Senator Tim Scott, who is NRSC chairman, as well as Senator Tom Cotton, were at this event together with Walker, really trying to rally support behind him. And I had a chance to ask both of them whether they have any concerns about these allegations and how it may play out in this Senate race. What do you say to those in your party who have concerns?
Herschel Walker led the dream of this country. He's come from the ground up from a small town with no money. He's worked hard every day. He believes in this country, and that's why people are going to vote for him.
Have either of you had conversations with him about these latest allegations?
Raphael Warnock and the Democrats want to make this about Herschel Walker yesterday. Herschel Walker make this about Georgia's tomorrow.
Now, Senator Scott also responded after that, saying that once again, Herschel Walker has continued to deny these accusations, and he is still very confident that he can pull out a win in this race.
Senator Scott seems to be confident, Nikole, but what about the NRSC, which Scott is the chairman of? Are they going to continue to pour money into Georgia? Are they still going to stick with Walker, not only politically, but financially?
Well, we know that they have continued to put ads on the air here in Georgia. And again, you know, in terms of Senator Scott, I think he was trying to send a strong signal and message by being here today. Interestingly, he was asked whether or not other Senate Republicans may campaign with Walker, and he wouldn't really say if that is a possibility. Also worth noting, you know, whether the former president decides to come down and campaign for Herschel Walker. He was an early endorser of Herschel Walker, as you know, encouraged him to run, and so far we have yet to see him here in the state.
And in terms of the Democratic side here, what are we hearing from Senator Warnock and his closing message? Is he focusing on the allegations against Herschel Walker or turning to other issues?
You know, he has mostly tried to steer clear of these allegations. Of course, he has been asked about them multiple times as new developments emerge in these stories. But the only thing primarily that he has said in response is that he does find some of the allegations disturbing, and he does think that Georgia voters have a sharp contrast when it comes to both of the candidates. And so he obviously is hoping that he wins out. But I would also note that in terms of some of these campaign ads, you know, there have also been a number of ads here on the air running, you know, accusations and allegations about Reverend Warnock and potential marital troubles, running ads here featuring his ex-wife. The campaign thus far, I mean, these are some things that surfaced back in 2020 as well, which, you know, the senator has said have been disproven. But that being said, you know, this just kind of goes to show how nasty and ugly this campaign has gotten, that, you know, it's gotten personal on both sides.
And are we going to hear anything more from Herschel Walker at length about the allegations from multiple news outlets, including the latest New York Times report from the last few days about how he encouraged a second pregnancy to be terminated?
Well, we do know that he did an interview today with ABC News, and in a clip that was released by the network, he once again denied the allegations and was asked if he ever paid for an abortion for a woman, to which he replied no. Whether he encouraged a woman to get an abortion, to which he replied no. But, you know, we tried to ask our own questions today at this event, and we're not allowed to speak with him. He didn't do any type of gaggle with reporters today.
Nikole Killion, appreciate your hard work and your reporting on the ground in the key state of Georgia. Thank you very much.